All right, then. Thanks.
Love
Thanks.
you.
Uh-huh.
You're supposed to step on my kids.
When it's not genuine, I have every right to.
You got a thread. You've got a thread.
Sure I do.
I can put it back. Love you.
Uh-huh. When I say that an image makes me look fat and she goes, no, you're just old. Thanks.
I'm so witty.
I don't know if that's the word for it, but it rhymes with witty. All right. Fine, I don't need to read it all then. Just make stuff up. I'll start reading like Resident Evil stuff then. All right. Mike is eating his lunch. The Websters are all talking with one another on level 50 in a level 53 boardroom. He's glad to be back among the Earthlings and very glad to have his wife sitting across from him, though she isn't comfortable enough to have lunch yet. He winks at her. Penny for your thoughts, sweetie. I just feel weird being here. I like these people and I agree with you that our world would be more likely to support them if they got to know them, but I still worry. You haven't told them everything about what we brought with us. He nods. In due time, Katie, for now. All we need to worry about is getting this place ready for war and knowing I'm able to support them. They don't need to know how I plan to support them. I don't know, it just seems dishonest to me. Maybe it's my lack of sleep that's shocking. Mike's ready to answer her, but an alarm rings out and he pulls out his personal computer from his pocket. Instead of talking via 3D video display, he answers it like an old-fashioned phone. Ken, what's up? He asks and his eyes quickly widen. Katie's blood runs cold. Mike, what is it? Mike raises a finger as if he heard her, and he'll answer that in a moment. Ken, hold your position. No, I didn't expect that either. Yeah, I heard they had that damn thing, but I didn't think they'd bring it here. It's overkill for a diplomatic mission for sure. He says with a nod while running his fingers through his hair. Yeah, I'll be there soon, okay? Just tell the crew to hold tight, and I'll be over. He says, and then he disconnects the call. Well, Katie asks. The Altilians are here. They came through a damn wormhole not far from the pizza store. Looks like they didn't see it. Thank goodness for the cloak. Ken's having a fit because they brought the warship with them. The one with no name. I haven't heard of it being used since they took over Altair. I thought they took it apart, Mike says as he gets up from the table, unable to finish his lunch. I want you to stay here, okay? Yeah, but I want to go with you. You're safer here, Katie. Sit tight there and I'll be back. She tries to look Mike in the eyes, but he's evading her look. What's going on in that head of yours? Just the usual crazy stuff, sweetie. You know how I am, he says, and then he gives her a kiss on the cheek before he embraces her. I'll be back as soon as possible. She folds her arm across her chest and rolls her eyes as Mike walks away. Mike, I know exactly how you are, she says, though not loud enough that he will hear her. She hates being left here, but she knows deep down that he's right. This is the safest place for her to be at this stage. Mike makes his way to John Webster and grabs him by the shoulder. John, I hadn't planned to tell you this, but I need you to come with me. What is it, Mike? Mike doesn't answer, John. He looks at Jim Webster and the twins. You three need to stay here. I want you to work with Division 1237. Addison, I need you to come with me, too. John raises a hand to Mike. I am scared to death that you're spooked, Mike. What's going on here? John looks down at the floor, knowing all eyes are trained on him. Or Mike looks down at the floor, knowing all eyes are trained on him. They've come, and they've brought an armada with them. The Altilians have brought one ship that might be able to stop the weapon I brought with me. Weapon? Addison asks. I thought your world was as passive as mine. It is. I had this built on the sly. Maybe it's time to put it to use, Mike says with a smile as he leads Addison and John away from the cafeteria and towards the shuttle. I guess this is going to be a short visit with the new version of 1237. Maybe we should pay a visit to the fake one. We're with you on that, Mike, John says, slapping Mike on the back as they all walk side by side. Addison does follow, but he keeps his head low. He's not certain about this now, as he was not certain about this when he went to see Dave Bellows. This is all moving too fast for him, and it feels really familiar, and in a bad way. Towards the end for Connolly, there had been some brave men who were willing to fight. They had all died. Addison really doesn't want history to repeat itself. He just doesn't dare repeat his fear out loud. Alright, and next scene. It's a battle of wills as the Altilians sit across from the Earthlings, each side having ambassadors trying to play nice with people they'd rather kill than negotiate with. Gora's in the midst of trying to explain how terrorist activities on such a large scale could occur without government being aware of it. You see, we have a massive military budget. We have to in order to protect ourselves, to maintain our operations on Altair, and to perform maintenance of our fleet. When Sibel foolishly started planning this horrible deed with two of my high-ranking generals, I was in the dark. But she seems so in control, Brent Decker interrupts. Gora gives Brent a stare that would melt him down to atoms if that were possible. I am in control, Senator Decker. I simply did not see that those funds were being routed improperly. They were tagged as a defense fund in case Falteris decided to resort to military action against my world for our occupation of Altair. What's the reason for that anyway? Slave trade good for you? Brent asks, not backing down from the large, intimidating aliens in his presence and within striking range. Brent, that's enough, Allison says, a hand raised in front of him as she tries to maintain order. They can't let this escalate since they're not ready for that. No, no, Miss Hannon, Gore says with a thin smile. Senator Decker is suspicious of my motives here, and rightfully so. I know how bad this looks, and that's why I quickly dispatched the two generals who were leaders of this entire thing. Falteri saw that I'd made the right move here, and saw that any declaration of war had been rescinded. He looks around, suddenly confused. There's no press here. Allison shakes her head. She was ready for that question. I had them cleared out after the last human bomb went off. I didn't want any further bad press. I don't really want any press for this place until we have something worked together and ensured safety of future generations that live here. That's the reason for this meeting, is it not? She's amazed that she's so composed to this stage. Indeed it is, Miss Hannon. You see, I knew we could work together. Now I have done some research into the biological agent that was used here, and I've located what appears to be a cure for the condition, one that restores the human DNA into its natural balance. He looks towards Ver, and Ver produces a vial with red liquid in it, sealed at the top with a simple plastic cap. Ver hands it to Allison. Sibel does a double take. He wasn't aware of any cure. Where did that come from? He feels betrayed. He wants to kill Gora for destroying all of his hard work with a small vial of liquid. This one moment ruins him. Gora looks over at Sibel with the same glare he gave Brent moments earlier. I had a science team manufacture a cure when I saw what was happening in Arcology 1237. I want to ensure that such an event never occurs again. He then looks over at Allison and manages to smile for her. Have your lab test that. It works. It neutralizes the effects and makes the person better immediately. I'd hate to see that illness continue anywhere, especially with so many on the surface who might be infected. Consider this one of the first of our many offerings that we can use to make things right. I cannot bring back those who died, but I can help restore the image of my people in this galaxy and work towards a partnership with your world. He offers to shake her hand again. A cold chill passes through Allison as she holds the vial in her hand, rotating it over and over. She watches the thick liquid as it sloshes back and forth inside its packaging, and wonders if this is really a cure or if it'll make something even worse happen. She nevertheless accepts a handshake from Gora. She hides her revulsion well. I accept this on behalf of my people, she says. Gora then stands from the table. I will now take my leave of you with my commanders here. I will send a science crew over to help you with administering the cure to anyone who may have been infected. It is vital that you do so quickly, as I understand the infection can take hold very, 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 very fast and can lead to tremendous suffering to anyone exposed. I'll do what I can, Allison vows as she walks Gora to the door leading out of the boardroom. We can find our way out from here, Miss Hannon. You have a good day, Gora says with a slight bow before leading Sibel and Fur away. As the Altilians disappear into a crowd of people, Brent shakes his head. You gonna let them out of here like that? They gave us a cure, she says, looking at the red liquid. If that's a cure, Chris says as he too looks at it. They're giving us a cure. They're trying to figure out if they're trying to show us we can trust them. They aren't ready to invade us yet, is my guess, she says, and heads out of the room with Brent and Chris in tow. They head in the opposite direction that the Altilians took. I want this analyzed by the team I have on level 16. Portion it out and send it around once we know it isn't harmful. But how do we test it, Brent asks. Expose someone to the mutation mixture they created and try this cure on them. If their DNA structure appears as it should be, we can send the cure out. And if it does something worse? Brent asks, the pessimist in him speaking as always. They'll do worse at some point, Brent. I just don't see there being a point. Who knows how many ticking time bombs there are all over the planet below us. Those people need this cure before we have massive death tolls on our hands. I feel bad enough I allowed people to leave before they were properly screened, and I won't let this get worse if I can help it. She hands the vial to Chris. I have to get back to Earth for meetings, but you can deal with this. Brent, I need you to stay here and keep an eye on whatever team they send over. They may not be going for war yet, but it doesn't mean I can trust them here without being seriously watched. Understood, Brent says, and he and Chris turn Allison turns to head back towards the shuttle. I have a feeling this whole thing is going to get royally screwed up. Chris nods. I'm sure of it. Next scene. Ken has almost worn a hole in the floor. They released a robotic drone to keep an eye on the Altilian warship, and its image has been dominating the Peace Restorer's view screen ever since. He wants to fire on it and get this all over with. Anyone who's been following Altil and their actions for more than 5 seconds must know this is an intimidation move against Earth. There's no need to have such a large warship in the area for a peace meeting. Though he was left in command, Ken knows better than to officially fire the first shot in a war here. They came here in part to hide the existence of this ship from the Altilians. They were hiding from 3 worlds at the same time, in reality. It was the most nervous Ken had ever been in his time in the military, and he wanted that stress to pass quickly. Incoming shuttle, an officer at navigation says. It's General Translow, and there are 3 people on the shuttle. He brought someone back? Ken asks as he quickly heads to the lift and heads down towards the docking bay, where the shuttle will be landed. The trip down to the landing bay is a gentle and quiet one. Again, in the relative peace of the blue light. Once the door opens, Ken sees the shuttle entering the bay. It's quite the sight with Earth's moon as a backdrop. The bay remains open, the air held in place by an invisible force field that is structured to keep the air in, but to allow ships entry from outside. It doubles as a docking bay for other large ships that could actually dock with the Peace Restorer, though that is a rarity. Technically, that would be a rarity, I should say, because this is its maiden voyage. Technically, it's more of a landing bay for shuttles like the one coming in now, but termed a docking bay because it has that capability as well. There's very little this ship can't do. Ken's more impressed with it every passing moment aboard. It's so sleek, clean, and he knows it's more powerful than anything that his world has ever created. He has to admit to himself that he wants to test it out. Maybe if they fired on the moon and made it like a meteor strike, just to see how powerful the ship was. The shuttle glides down and lands 20 feet from where Ken stands. The shuttle sits among a group of small SS-210 fighters, another weapon that Altel has no knowledge of. Ken makes his way to the shuttle as Mike steps out with 2 men in tow. Katie not come back with you, he asks. Safer for her there, Mike answers. Ken Young, this is John Webster of Earth and Addison Marks of Conley, he says. Where? Conley, Mike responds. That's the world we answered the distress signal for, and when we got there it had been burned to a cinder. Turns out this man might be the last survivor from that world. That's insane, Ken says with his eyes wide. What happened to your world? Altel happened, Addison answers. He looks around at the docking bay. This ship sure is, it's blue. It's quite the ship you have here. Mike leads them all to the lift as he answers the comment that Addison had made. It was created in the ice of a moon around our sister planet Temp. We used the blue color to symbolize that the ship was carved out of ice. We also found it was calming to our people. He says as the lift starts heading for the bridge. The thing is, you 2 are now the first from either of our worlds to know this ship exists. Those ships in the bay back there look impressive too, John says. Mike smiles. I'm going to show you how to pilot one of those. The SS-210 is one of the deadliest fighters we've ever had. Probably the deadliest. There's this treaty my world signed with Altil that agrees we won't build any ships with weaponry on them. They claimed at the time of the treaty that such ships would be considered a threat and could lead to invasion. Since our leadership group were a bunch of wusses, here we are lurking around the moon and hiding the greatest ship our people don't even know exists. It's a really messed up situation. The elevator door opens and John steps onto the bridge first, letting out a long whistle. When you decide to break a treaty, you guys really know how to break a treaty. You flatter me, Mike says with a laugh. Yeah, and see that? He asks, pointing at the warship still displayed on the view screen. That has to be destroyed. It just has to. The Altilians brought that sucker here just to intimidate your people into submitting to their will. You think they bought the ruse about 1237, John asks. Mike sits in the chair and stares at the warship on a screen for a few seconds before he answers. If they figured out what was going on there, that ship would be busy destroying every arcology in orbit. I'm dead serious. They're going to explode into a rage when they find out about the deception that was planned for them. So we sit here and wait for that then, John asks. Mike has to think it over for a moment before he gives an answer. Ken, fire up the engines. Thank you, General, Ken says, and the Peace Restorer roars to life. Yeah, one more scene for this chapter. As they return to their unstoppable ship, Sabal is still fuming, and as soon as they emerge from the shuttle, he starts to go off in their native language, of course. Though their language is simply a series of clicking noises, this definitely has an angry tone in any form of communication. How did they get a cure? How and why? Settle down, Sabal, Gora says as he stops and looks his subordinate right in the eyes. I'm well aware of what I'm doing here. I'm making them feel they can trust us, or at least buying us time until we're ready to eliminate the humans from the universe. But there is no cure, Sabel insists. He and Gore are almost nose to nose, and this could become a brawl quickly. It could have easily already if Sabel didn't know every security guard in the area had their weapons trained on him. Gore sighs, "There's always a cure, you idiot. Their DNA structure is different from ours, but the concoction you made could mutate. There's some concern within our scientific team that it could mutate and start affecting our kind as well. If we cure the humans first, it kills any chance of that happening." So what are the side effects to the cure? Sabel wants to understand the tactical advantage they just gained back here since he doesn't see any. There are no side effects. It makes them better. It's the price I pay now for a payoff later. Sabal, if you're thinking you're getting a raw deal, I can think several places that could cool you off. I find you to be useful of a military mind, but I'd hate to see you in exile if you leave me no other choice. He lets his voice trail off at the end of that sentence. No need for that, Sabal says, and hates himself for saying it. He wants to fight back here. There is a great time for him to become leader, wipe out Earth, and head to Falteres, where he could lay waste to everything that moves. This probably isn't it. He believes that if the prophecy of one being able to take them down is true, they need to act sooner rather than later. Finding John's unique DNA led to speculation he might be the one that's who could even the playing field here. Gore takes a step back. Now, if we can be adults here, we can work on the next phase of the plan, sending a science team over there to work with their people and make sure that place is free of contamination. That seems risky, Ver interjects. Our scientists are way ahead of theirs in terms of knowledge. What is there to deter them from taking one of our kind prisoner and then trying to extract information from them, which unravels this entire plot? I'm way ahead of you there, Ver, Gore assures him. And that's the end of that chapter. No, but it's good.
That wasn't very long.
It's good. We're up to 17 minutes. So we're okay. And we're down to 39 pages left in Volume 2 before we'll get to Volume 3. So we're getting down to the end of it. And what I'm doing now is the plan is to reboot it. And I want to do like character studies and do 9 volumes. So 9 different stories. But I'm trying to think of, there was an idea I had ages ago, which was to write all of them at the same time so they all match up and they all work together, but I had to do out the entire plot line for all of them to make sure they all matched.
Right.
And so when it was all done, I was like, wow, that's really impressive. And then I didn't write it.
Right.
Because I was like, well, I know how that ends. So, all right, it's a good story. And then I didn't write it. So I have to actually have the ability to, because again, when I'm writing this, I don't know where the book's going. I have no idea. I just let the story tell me where it's going. And if I'm going to get back into this, I can't do that. I have to make sure there's an actual plan from the beginning so that it works even better. Because I enjoy these stories, but I think I could do it better. So we'll see. We'll see if I smarten up and do things right or if I screw up. So we'll see. So, but 9 books, that should keep me busy until hockey comes back in 2025 or whenever it is. Depending on who you ask, of course. 2025, 2036, or whatever.
It's not going to happen like
Sure.
that.
Yeah. It's going to be, we're going to be grounders from the 100 pretty quick here. We'll all be riding horses and painting our faces black.
I need cooler outfits.
And don't worry, it's all leather.
Once
Everything
I'm
they wear is
done-
like
once
leather
I'm done
and
sewing surgical caps,
leather and denim.
make us our apocalypse gear.
So
Yeah.
the problem is I'm not going to survive the apocalypse because they're very attractive people in the 100 that survive the apocalypse. So I don't think I'm young enough or good looking enough.
I don't know if I'm cute enough
So,
for the apocalypse.
There's a problem there.
I don't like heat set my hair or anything like
Right.
that, so
Right.
not the type that survives.
True. And so, yeah, so when that happens, for those of you that are young and attractive enough out there, just act surprised. So, yeah, we're almost done Volume 2, and we'll get into Volume 3 then right after that. And, yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. As you can see, I haven't figured out a way to do this earlier in the day. I've got 3 boards ready for hockey tomorrow. I've got 2 other ones over here, so I've got
Nice.
5 videos already all planned out for tomorrow, including the greatest madness board I've ever done that I had to take a picture and send to my wife.
Yeah, he did.
Because it's right from 1967 until now. So I'm pretty impressed with that one. That's a pretty good madness board.
It is kind of ridiculous.
Because I thought, I wonder if I can measure parity. Yeah, I can try. And just get into which teams have been most impressive from 1967 until now. And surprise, it's not Vancouver. So it didn't really surprise me a whole lot. Right. I always wonder why I do these things to myself, because I'm always like, sort of like, oh, all my teams lose a lot. Like Boston, they've won 2 Stanley Cups since expansion, but they've lost 7 Stanley Cup finals.
That's nice.
7.
That's hot. Very nice.
Your hands are cold. Okay. All right.
Oh, you're so warm.
Okay. So.
My warm salmon.
Okay. No.
Oh, warm.
All right. I have to do my treadmill and watch some 100. I'm into season 3 now, so.
I look really pale today.
There are 3 characters that I will riot if they die at some point in the series. So we'll see if that happens or not. And I'm really hoping not. So we'll see. Well, there's 2. There's a third I'm on the fence with, but there's definitely 2 that if they kill them off, I'm gonna be really, really choked.
Are they all
really,
girls?
really angry. Okay, that's not the point.
It's like I know.
That's not the point.
Something.
So that's not the point. They're good characters. They are. They are.
Sure they are.
And remember, when I raged and stopped watching Walking Dead, that was when they killed off Glenn, who's not a girl. And I kind of felt like they did a Glenn thing in series 2, but they didn't. I was like, seriously, if she's been injured this whole season and they're just going to kill her off at the end of it, I'm going to be choked. And then they didn't. I cheated and went ahead and saw, okay, they didn't kill her off. Okay, good. So we'll see if that's still the case through season 6, as they're going to start season 7 as well. So that's supposed to be the last season. They're going to have exactly 100 episodes.
All right.
So that's creative. And I've always appreciated a series that knows where it's going to stop. Orphan Black, they knew it was going to be 5 seasons. Mm-hmm. So I've always appreciated a show that knows where it's going to end and when. And that they don't deviate from that.
There are a lot of shows that go way too long.
Supernatural was supposed to be five seasons.
And it's stupid long.
Eric Kripke, who originated it, there was 5 seasons. And when you watch it through the 5th season, it perfectly finishes. And then season 6, it feels tacked on. You're like, why is this still happening? Why? Mm-hmm. They just fought Satan. Why are we still watching? Why is this still a show? They fought Lucifer. How do you one-up Lucifer? Oh, there's some kind of hell monsters. Why? And then that whole season, like if we watch Supernatural, I will skip season 6. I have no qualms about skipping season 6 because I didn't care about any of them at all. The main bad guy, his name is Richard, and that way right. It's endless instances right. of Dean calling him Dick. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, okay, so that's just there just so Dean can call him a dick all the time. And then it just didn't get better. But yeah, so there you go. Thank you guys so much for all your support once again as we continue through this
apocalypse
quarantine moment in history. But I honestly think we're coming through and we'll get through and there's going to be good news on the other side of this. Just it's a matter of just the patience and it'll get there. We'll get there. It'll happen. But thank you guys so much once again. Remember, stay home. Stay safe as much as humanly possible. And, all the best to everybody who are among the first responders and the medical community and people who are helping out during all this. Your work is amazing and is recognized and appreciated. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.